Because I'm a stud. I'm ballsy. I don't take no shit from anyone. I smoke my stogie
with AshHoles.
I don't have to find a hideout place like you.
Ladies and gentlemen, guess who's back? It's Artie the Cigar Guy, and I'm here on City World Radio filling in for Johnny Mandolin. I'm here with my buddy Rob McKay, a.k.a. the Weatherman, and today we're going to be talking cigars, we're going to be talking maybe a little politics, and we're going to be talking about our neighbors up north, Canadians. So stay tuned here on City World Radio. Hello, it's Artie. I'm so excited to be back here on City World Radio, guys, and I'm so excited to bring you another episode of Artie's Cigar Hour, okay? Today, I want to introduce a really cool dude. His name is Rob McKay, the Weather Guy. Rob, why don't you introduce yourself?
Buddy, how's it going?
Fantastic.
Good to be here. You know, the thing is, I need to say right off the top, I didn't have a lot going on today, so I really was more than happy to make the big trip downtown.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for clearing up your busy schedule. So why don't you tell the people a little bit about what you're doing now?
Oh, come on.
Okay, well, Rob is actually... No. Okay, fair enough. Rob is unemployed, but...
No, I'm an entrepreneur.
Let's put it that way. Let's unemployed entrepreneur. So, So the reason I actually wanted Rob to come in today is because Rob, you, as we've talked about a lot, you have a really, you had a long tenure in a radio studio where you actually did this for a while. I'm fairly new to this. I mean, fairly new is wrong. I'm new to this. This is only like my 5th episode,
right.
As a host. And you've been doing this for how long? Why don't you tell the people a little bit about how long you've been doing this for?
Well, back in the day, which is, different to everybody. So back in the day, for me, is like 30 years ago. And I worked in radio in a small town of like 5,000 people in northern British Columbia.
Yeah.
And then moved my way down to Vancouver. And that's where I kind of finished my radio career. Clouds and sunshine with the highest of 75.
So what exactly were you a DJ, an MC? Like, what is the term for what you did? Were you interviewing people? Were you doing news? Were you just playing music? What was your whole job when you were on the radio, I guess you should say? Because I think there's different like things, right?
I really was like a disc jockey. So again, I started in a small town where the big city kind of was the main feed for the in northern BC, and then between 6 and 9 in the morning, and 3 and 6 in the afternoon, we'd flick a switch and we'd become a local radio station. So I did the afternoon show.
Interesting.
And literally just played music and talked. And then as I moved up and moved closer to Vancouver, then I would start to do interviews, and I'd interview musicians, and I had an hour-long music special.
That's perfect segue, man, because I was just about to ask you, did you have any kind of like segments or specials? Like, did you have like, okay, now welcome to Rob's jazz hour, or today we're doing musicians that don't have a left arm, or something like that? Like, did you have any special segments?
You know what special segment I had?
What?
clouds and sunshine.
So you did the weather. Okay.
No, you know what? Besides just doing the normal DJ stuff, which is literally having just an afternoon drive show, and you're right, do the weather and introduce the news and.
So you did news.
No, but I mean, I'd be like, and now with the news, so and so they do. The news,
I see.
And it'd come back to me, and I would, introduce the song, or you'd come out of the song and go into the commercial, whatever. Then I did an hour-long music special, and so I would interview musicians and then edit it together. And then I also drove in Prince George, which is a city in the middle of British Columbia, which is a province in Canada. Artie.
Oh, where's Canada?
Buddy. So I drove the 55 Fun Machine. And so what we would do is we drive around this van, which was marked as the radio station's call letters, right?
Yeah.
And then the DJ in the station would say, and now we're out to the 55 Fun Machine with Rob McKay.
Oh.
And I'd be like, I'm driving on route whatever, Highway 97. I'd be driving on Highway 97.
Cool.
And I'd be behind a Toyota Corolla license plate, blah, blah, blah. If you pull over now, I'll give you a 55 fun pack. It was like a T-shirt.
That's hilarious.
And concert
and
tickets.
Did this happened?
Yeah.
Like how many? Okay, I know it's probably been, you did this for a while, and like how many would you assume? 10 times it worked?
What,
100 times? Yeah.
Oh, well, you know what? There was no like FM radio at that time, believe it or not. I mean, there was FM radio, but we weren't getting it in northern BC. And so we were kind of like the thing. So there was like the country
There's nothing
station.
else.
No,
Okay,
you're right. There was the country station,
Okay.
and there was the rock station, which I worked at. So
Yeah.
most people would listen to the rock station.
And you were the one who decided like what the music playlist would be, or is there like you had like somebody else that figured that out for you?
No, somebody did the rotation.
The rotation,
And,
yeah.
And what would happen is that maybe you'd have a new song, and that would rotate maybe 10 times in a day for a week. And
Oh,
then-
I see.
and then
Yeah,
it-
I've noticed that when new songs drop, they're like, oh, you hear them all the time, and
Yeah,
it
and then
burns
it would-
out a little bit.
It would rotate out, and a lot of that was to do with the record company, and then but there was a music director whose job it was to program. And then what I would do is I would try to sneak stuff in, and sometimes it would work. Maybe I'd put in an album cut or whatever, and then sometimes I get a note.
1 second, I'm sorry. What is an album cut?
An album cut, so say you have an album like Journey, the album Escape, right?
Okay.
And one of the big hits off there is Don't Stop Believin', right?
Don't stop.
Exactly. And just remember, fun fact about this song,
What?
there is no South Detroit.
Oh, yes. You mentioned that a couple of times to me.
A couple of times. But when he wrote that song, he tried East Detroit and North Detroit, and it just didn't work. So
Really?
He just made it up because South Detroit sounded
Yeah.
better. But anyway, Don't Stop Believin' is the hit off that album. So you'd always play the hits off the album. But then maybe you'd play a cut that wasn't rotated, and you just pop it in there. And
It's like a
sometimes-
different edit. What is it? It's like original edit. It's an unmastered edit. Like I don't understand.
No, each album would have like 6 songs on each side.
It's like
or
a
whatever.
different lyrics. Like what makes it different?
Well, it's not the hit. So the hit song would be rotated.
Oh,
So
so
it's-
it's not like a different version of a song. It's
No.
just a different song that they would be like, hey, like nobody gives a shit about this, don't play it. But you'd be like, hey, I like this shit.
You know
Put
what?
it on.
You know what? I would have never thought to put it like that.
Yeah,
but-
okay, I get it.
But that's
I get
exactly
it.
it.
Nice,
yeah.
nice.
And sometimes I get away with it, and sometimes I get a note in my little mail slot the next day saying, this doesn't fit our demographic or blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean?
Wait, why would they mail you?
No, in a oh my God. I felt a little bit like a dinosaur when I walked in here. Now I got little short arms, and I'm
Let me ask.
like in your mail slot when you come in and you have messages.
Yeah.
And so they leave a note saying this doesn't fit our demographic.
Oh,
and-
so like not to your house. Like your manager or boss or somewhere higher up would leave you a note like, yo, stop playing this garbage.
You'd literally come in and at the start of your shift, somebody's giving you crap. Like, please don't play this song because it doesn't fit our demographic. It's too heavy. It's
And how would you respond?
well, what I try to do is do it again. You know what I mean? And but usually I would just say, yeah, sorry about that. I couldn't help myself. I really like that song or whatever. Right?
Yeah, I mean, but did that ever land you in any real trouble, other than just a little slap on the wrist?
No, I mean, I was, one thing is like I was 18, 19, 20, 21 or whatever, and you get away with a lot.
Yeah.
People give you a little bit of leeway.
Yeah.
Because you can use excuses like, oh, I didn't know or whatever. But it only got worse. So as I started to go towards bigger cities like Lethbridge, Alberta, and then finally Vancouver, it would just get worse. So it was tighter. So you'd literally be like, the program director would be, you cannot play anything other than what I tell you.
So the bigger it got, the harder it was for you to like kind of move your weight around.
Yeah,
I got you.
You couldn't really do anything.
More restrictions, more you can get in real trouble now, right?
Well, sometimes it was even the stuff that you said. I mean, Howard Stern. See, when I was in radio, it was the boss jock, which is Van Halen on 14 Seafun, where you kind of talk from your diaphragm and you bass it up.
Yeah. And
then Howard Stern came along, and he started the era
just
of
talking.
Your natural voice, right? But I was kind of just before Howard Stern, and I remember there was near Vancouver, a whale had floated up on the beach, and it was dead, obviously. And so there's a limited amount of time that they had to deal with this whale, otherwise it would just start, I don't know.
You ever seen that shit?
Yeah.
They look like giant fucking hot air balloons
it's
on the ground.
Yeah.
But wait,
and then
hold
it blows
on.
up,
You've
right?
seen that shit?
Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God. It's like a goddamn grenade. Yeah. Somebody shoved like 10,000 pounds of TNT into that thing.
Sometimes when I can't sleep, I'll watch it.
It's ridiculous. Like, and then they just poke it just a little bit, like a little, and that shit just. Wait, I think I have a. There you go.
Whale porn.
Yeah. All right.
So, they didn't know what to do with this whale. They towed it out. They took a tugboat and towed it out, and then it floated back in. And now they're really running out of time. So, in the spur of the moment, I had a Find Moby the Very Dead Whale a home radiothon. And I had people call in. This is just spur of the moment, right? And this one guy calls in from Boston. He's visiting Vancouver. And, don't park your car at Harvard, that kind of thing. Right?
Okay, yeah.
And he told this story about in Boston how they'd have a whale came into the harbor and they towed it out and they put some dynamite in it, but they didn't tow it out far enough, and they put too much dynamite in, so it blew blubber all over the houses and the boats and whatever. And to me, this was like ridiculously hilarious. It was all live, and it was kind of this light schmaltzy rock radio station. So I thought, this is like revolutionary in my world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, the next day I got a note saying, we really shouldn't be talking about dead whales.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, because you're not doing like okay, so this show, for instance, is online radio. You were doing like broadcast radio, which is like there's like we can curse like go fuck yourself, no problem.
No, you couldn't do that.
You can't. So there was like certain rules, and that wasn't even your organization. There was a a government entity that
CRTC.
Yeah,
but they wouldn't say what you could and couldn't say on the radio. They would be more if you swore or if you did something really controversial.
Oh, I see.
It was really the program director of the station that was like, our target audience are men and women over 50, and they really don't appreciate to be talking about dead whales on the show. And I was like, come on, you know what I mean? So,
I mean, it's
well, now it seems like harmless,
now,
right?
Yeah, now, because the way I see it, it's like, it's like the whole mundane thing. Like every day, you kind of know what to expect. It's always the same shit, and then something interesting finally happens. And they're like, no, you can't talk about that. It's too weird. Yeah. It's like a shame. I'd like to know about the whale,
See?
Yeah.
I was before my time.
Yeah, exactly. You're a visionary. So, so what I understand is that you were kind of like the guy that ran the whole thing. You had the voice, you had the knowledge of the music, especially when you did the interviews and all that. You were a really good orator, but but you had people like looking down on you. So my question is there anything that you kind of like brought up or wanted to do that they said nope?
My whole life, I've had people looking down on me. It's a sad existence.
So, like, is there anything that you really wanted to do but you didn't?
Let me see. How many regrets? 240 of those, I would say.
All right, give me top three.
No, seriously. No, you know what? I got to do a lot in radio that I wanted to do. The best part was interviewing, famous musicians. Now, most of these were Canadian, like bands like Trooper, which I'm sure you haven't heard of. But some of them were American, like Huey Lewis and the News.
Yeah, so I don't know that either. Look, I just want to be very clear. Canadian, American, Nigerian, doesn't matter. Like 99% of the bands you talk about, I've never heard of because they're from the 1920s. So it doesn't matter. Canadian, you know what I mean? Like, so, but continue. Go ahead, tell me.
So glad I made the trip
downtown.
downtown.
Yeah, thank you so much.
So, I got to interview these famous musicians. Some of them I was a big fan of, and that was really cool. And I got to edit and put together these programs, and I got to be on the air and meet people. And, I don't know, was there more that I suppose I wish it would have paid better, because the pay was really terrible, and I think if it had paid better, maybe I could have gone on and got a morning show or something like that. But I kind of just wanted to make some money, so I moved out of it.
I see. So, really, so it didn't pay as well as I thought. I thought it would pay not bad.
No, it's terrible. I mean, we get freebies and stuff. You'd get like a free meal somewhere, or you get concert
Even
tickets
when you
or-
were in Vancouver?
Yeah, but the only thing was I worked for a station that was a jazz station that was switching to light rock. It was really adult light rock, like really, really light. And so, like, I'd get to go to shows I didn't really want to go to. But still, you get free albums, so you get music.
That sounds like
Yeah, you
it
get
makes you
lots of
fall
free
asleep,
stuff.
like rock to go to sleep to. Light rock. Like,
Yeah, it was pretty bad.
yeah.
But
I mean, listen. Obviously, I'm way more. I know a lot more about these American Canadian celebrities, but there's a shitload of them, right? Like Justin Bieber, Ryan Reynolds, Mike Myers. Like, I mean, if you think, Jim Carrey, like everybody who's like worth a fucking damn in Hollywood, it seems like is Canadian. So I can imagine that there's a ton of really, really, really like talented, celebrities, musicians, whatever, in Canada also that didn't come to the U.S., correct? Or did all the really, really, really good ones just say, fuck it, I'm going to go south and, Toronto, it's too cold up here, there's too many damn polar bears, I'm tired of this maple syrup, I'm going to America, I want to get an AR-15 and...
well, you can't buy an AR-15 in Canada, but that's a whole other story. So, you know what? It's a very good question because there's a thing in Canada that what happens is if you're a Canadian musician, whether it's just a singer or a songwriter or you're in a band or whatever, and you obviously have to crack other markets because the Canadian market is relatively small. And so the most obvious market is the U.S. What happens is that if say you're a Canadian band and you do really, really well in Canada,
Okay.
and then you're trying to crack the Canadian market, but you can't for whatever reason, then all of a sudden your stock goes down in Canada. So people are funny. They'll look at you like, well, you didn't make it in the U.S., so even though we thought you were big, you didn't make it in the U.S., so you can't be that big, so we'll lose interest in you. So,
I see. So it's like it's almost like you could try it, but then if you fail, like even Canada won't give a shit about you. You know what you mean?
Yeah, it's really weird.
That's interesting. I never thought about that.
I mean, there were bands like Loverboy. You've heard of Loverboy.
Loverboy, man, come on.
Come on, who doesn't love Loverboy?
I don't know
right?
what the fuck that is.
You know Loverboy.
I don't know Loverboy.
Everybody's
Listen, I'm getting a little weirded out saying Loverboy, so can you just tell me what it is?
Everybody's working for the weekend. Come on, you don't know. Everybody needs a new romance.
Can you give me a little bit of the beat? I really don't know. I don't know Loverboy.
No. You know what's funny though is that
It sounds like a section of NAMBLA or some shit. Hey, welcome to Loverboy. For all our listeners, NAMBLA is the North American Man Boy Love Association.
Oh, jeez. So, at the beginning of that song is actually a cowbell.
Oh.
Because a lot of the songs, like in the 80s from the rock bands, would always have a cowbell in it. So it's like ding, 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 ding. Everybody's working. Anyway, so Loverboy is a band that did really well in Canada and then had maybe a year of
Rock, right?
Yeah, rock.
Okay.
Yeah. And of great success in the U.S. And then they fell in the U.S. and then they fell in Canada. So it was almost like their failure in the U.S. was a signal to the Canadians to stop liking them, right? Now, the flip side of that, because when I was in radio...
Could it have been that the Canadians were just salty?
Salty? What do you mean?
Like, they're like, you son of a bitch, you left us, and now you're coming back? Fuck you.
Oh, I never thought of that.
Yeah, like...
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't know what it is. It's just a weird phenomenon, but there wasn't a lot of successful Canadian musicians when I was in radio that were also successful in the U.S. The obvious ones are Randy Bachman, BTO, Neil Young, Bryan Adams. Come on,
I know the name. I can't even picture his face.
buddy. I bought my first real 6-string. Where did you buy it?
I have no idea.
You bought it at the Five and Dime.
No clue.
How long did you play it? You played it till your fingers bled. Why? Because it was the summer of '69, my friend.
I don't know this song.
Bryan Adams. You don't know Bryan
Nope.
Adams? Ah, jeez.
Nope.
So
I don't trust people with two first names. I'm sorry.
So here's the thing. Bryan Adams is the exception, and Celine Dion, they did well in Canada, and then they did well in the U.S., and then they did well in the world. You know Rush?
Yeah, so I've heard of them. I don't know them.
Rush is like, I guess, kind of a progressive / heavy metal band, and they actually didn't do that well in the U.S. right away. But then they took off and became, they did well in Europe, I think, before they did well in the U.S. But anyhow, but that was fun for me. That was fun interviewing these bands that were famous and that I was a fan of, and it was just kind of a cool thing to do. You know?
And how many? So okay, I guess what I'm trying to say is what would you say was your most favorite interview?
Well, I don't know. I'm stuck remembering this guy. Who's House of the Rising Sun? The Animals. Eric Burden. So Eric Burden is this guy who was big in the '60s, and he redid a song called House of the Rising Sun, and he was just messed up. I mean, drugs and booze and pretty much anything he can ingest. And I interviewed him when he was on the outs, where he was like staying in like a little motel, and in this small town in Alberta. And, you know, his voice and the way he talked and everything was just like he'd been doing way too many drugs. And in some ways it was really kind of sad because this was a world-famous musician.
So was he like what? Like, I don't understand. Like, he didn't make any sense. He was like, you could tell that he was just like lost it, or I don't.
It sounded like, can you imagine that life isn't going well for you and you're at a Motel 6? Right, and you're sitting there at night replaying what's gone wrong with your life, and then you have to go down to the local bodega to work your all-night shift. This is what I think it felt like by the sound of his voice. That's what I was hearing.
No, I see. So it's just like a complete loss of love for life.
Yeah, he was like staying in this cheap motel. He was going to play this club with like 200 people, and this is a guy who probably used to sell at 20,000-seat stadiums. And then just that sound, you know, that voice where it's like, you can just hear in their voice that they've smoked too much, they've drank too much, they did too many drugs. So on one hand, it was great for me because I was a big fan and I was interviewing somebody I was a big fan of. And on the other hand, the only reason that I got this interview was because this guy was kind of like a has-been.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't going to get...
You know, one of the things they say is you never want to meet your idols, right? Because you always find out that they're much less ideal and much less like, because you idolize them and you put them on a pedestal and you almost like deify them, and then when you meet them you realize, oh man, these are just a bunch of dicks just like me, and they have these problems and they're human and they're degrading and they're nasty and disgusting and shitty, and oh my god, this is horrible. You know what I mean? I get it.
Wow, before you said that, I kind of wanted to meet my idols, but now I don't want to meet any of them. So, you know, I like Hall & Oates, right?
Oh, do you?
Daryl
I had no
Hall.
idea.
Daryl Hall and John Oates, and I've been to probably about maybe just under 40 concerts.
And then you realize how short the motherfucker is, right?
Well, you're right. John is really short. But here's the thing, is that I've met John a few times. I've had some conversations with him. I've got a photo with him, whatever. And he's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
But Daryl, who's really the voice, he's got the voice. He's kind of the star, really. I would never want to meet him because he just seems like he would be an ass. Just the interviews, the things you hear, you know, you watch him interacting with people or whatever, and it's just like, I really wouldn't, even though I love the music and I'm a big fan, I'd never want to meet the guy.
So you're that intimidated that you wouldn't come up and say, hey, I'm a huge fan, like, can I touch your balls or something?
No, first of all, I doubt very much that I would say that. Although I have to say that I'm considering a lot of things during this interview. But no, it's not that I'd be intimidated. It's just that you just wouldn't want to meet him because you know he's just going to be a jerk. I know it sounds like a weird thing. Look.
That sounds like intimidation.
If I'm walking down the street and Daryl Hall walks by, I'll probably throw that all out the window and go, Daryl, I love your stuff.
So you're saying you've never had an opportunity to meet him?
No, well, I've met John on quite a few occasions because...
And was Daryl like somewhere like 3 feet away and you just didn't approach him?
He travels separately. So what happens is that John, you know, they travel a lot of times.
For some reason I thought that they traveled together, I guess.
Well, that's what I would have thought. Yeah. Although, you know, a lot of these... you know, duos that would be like Penn and Teller and Hall & Oates. If you ask, if you hear an interview with them and they're like, you know, what's the key to your long-term success? They'll say, we're not friends.
No, they don't. No, not we.
Yeah.
Penn says we're not friends.
Yeah, Penn says
Teller
we're not
don't
friends.
say shit.
Yeah, well, he does now, but certainly not on the show.
I'll tell you this much. They have this thing, it's called Masterclass. It's like where celebrities and professionals like do a class.
Yeah, I've seen it advertised. Is it any good?
I don't know. I haven't tried it, but I know that there's a Penn and Teller one about magic, and Teller talks a lot.
Yeah.
In the advertisement, he's just talking and talking, and it's awesome. I'm glad that he I mean, it kind of sucks because you're like Teller. That's his whole shtick, right? He doesn't talk, and it's cool because like it's mysterious and it's almost like you know, you kind of want him to stay quiet but then he speaks and you're just like that whole immersion is broken. You know?
Well, and I think a lot of it has to do with social media and just the new ways that they're advertising and marketing themselves, is that really he has to talk now. But in the show, he doesn't talk.
I mean, here's the thing, right? About his act, I guess, and about his whole thing is talking, right? It helps you with misdirection. Right, like, hey, look at this hand, and then you do some other shit with your other hand, and that's a part of magic. And then talking could also help you, like, bring up a narrative. And sometimes, if you are doing a magic trick, you want to have a narrative, right? That helps you drive the trick forward instead of, like, just pick a card. It's like, here I have a deck. You know what I mean? I will now. You know what I mean? And that kind of thing, like, taking that away, Teller was able to kind of, like, perfect the whole physical acting of it with his hands, his body. You know what I mean? So instead of saying, look at my hand, he would point at his hand, but then that's difficult because then he can't use his hand to do some other shit when you're looking at you know what I mean? So he's kind of not speaking has allowed him to master that physical form, and that's really what his whole thing is. And that's why when he speaks, it's almost like, damn, you know what I mean? Like, I like the fact that you were quiet and mysterious and you had your own kind of style, you know?
Yeah, when he first did it, when he first started speaking, I think it was weird because that's just what you're used to.
I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, whoa, what the fuck?
It's weird.
You sound like a regular dude. I expected some shit like, I don't know.
But he doesn't speak during the show. But here's the thing with Penn and Teller, their deal really is that they broke the magician's code in that they tell you how the trick is done, right? And then at a certain point, I wonder if they were sitting down and they just said, okay, you're not going to talk. Like, I'd be curious how.
Oh man,
I'm sure you could.
I think I saw an interview of this shit. Yeah, I don't think it was like that. I think he just you know what? I'm not gonna say it because I don't know.
But back to Hall & Oates.
Yeah.
Back to Hall & Oates.
Okay, sorry, we kind of got.
So what a lot of musicians when they're going to concerts, they don't actually travel in limos. They'll travel in like unmarked vans, right? Because then people don't spot them. It just looks like a van delivering something to the arena. And so what happens is John Oates travels in a van with all the other musicians in the band, but Daryl Hall travels on his own. And that to me is just weird. Why wouldn't you travel with the band, or why wouldn't you travel with a couple members of the band? You know what I mean? And it's just little things that he kind of did like that, and in interviews, and have you ever liked somebody's talent or somebody's movies or something, but disliked them as a person?
Hated the person. Let me think about this.
Hey, Tom Cruise.
Yes, I like Tom Cruise as a person too.
Yeah.
I hate. Who's the guy from K-Pax?
What?
K-Pax or House of Cards? Kevin Spacey.
Oh,
hate that motherfucker.
Yeah.
Love his acting. Can't stand him as a person.
Right.
So.
Although maybe you would have liked him as a person before you found out about all the stuff he was doing, right?
Oh no, he was a huge dick even before that.
Oh,
he was a
didn't even
diva.
like him then?
Yeah. He was a big diva. He had Jennifer Lopez.
Quentin Tarantino.
Oh yeah,
Love
that's a
his
good
movies,
one.
but he just seems like a real ass.
Looks
right?
like a fucking rat. You know what I mean? But he's a fucking genius though. His last movie is a little too self-indulgent, but other than that, like, he's always done really good shit. And that's you know what his secret is? I know what it is. He does not give a fuck at all.
Yeah, and
there's nobody. I don't think there's ever been a time when somebody's come up to him and been like, "Hey, Quentin, Mr. Tarantino, can you please not put this in your movie?" You know what I mean? He'd be like, "I'm never gonna fucking work for you again, you piece of shit motherfucker. This is my movie."
Well, and remember
could you imagine if Pulp Fiction? Hey, don't. I don't want that guy to get fucked in the ass in Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
no gimp, like
no
you
gimp.
Can't put the
you know
gimp
what I
in?
mean? No samurai swords. You know what I mean?
It'd be like no gimp, no movie.
Yeah,
right?
no movie exactly.
So I've discovered about you, for example, that you're really quite a good radio host.
No, thank you.
But you're a bit of a dick. So
yes.
So
I like to say I'm honest. Is that no? It's not. Can't say that. I just think I'm honest.
You're forthright.
I don't have
you're
a filter.
Opinionated.
I don't try to like. I care not too much about people's feelings, more about people's well-being. You know what I mean? Like if you're butthurt about something, I don't care. If you're in trouble, I care. You know what I mean? But if you're like, oh, I can't believe you said that, I don't give a shit. But if you're like, I don't know, if somebody wants to fuck you up, or if like if you're depressed, or if you're having a hard time, then I care, right? But if you're just like worried because I made an Asian joke or whatever, I don't care.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Or like if I made a 9/11 joke, like I did like on 9/11, I don't care.
There's certain things that you just can't do. But that's
nope, wrong.
But here's the thing. The challenge when you're like that, and I'm not at all criticizing you, the challenge when you're like that is that you can offend people. And sometimes if you offend people, maybe those are people you like and you want to spend time with.
But you have to risk, being offensive to get to the bottom of the truth. You know what I mean? Being offended is like a part of the discussion. If no one was offended, there would be no need for discussions. You know what I mean? If there's not somebody that disagrees with you, then there would be no issue, and we would not even have to discuss this because there would be no conflict. The offense is just a natural occurrence of conflict. You know what I mean? So there has to be conflict. There has to be offense if there's going to be free speech. You know what I mean?
Well, look at Jay Leno, right? He was milky toasty. He didn't offend anybody. Letterman offended all kinds of people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I guess I really didn't like Jay Leno, and I liked David Letterman, so I guess I kind of agree.
Because Letterman, you could tell that he was being a bit like, I don't want to say fully genuine, but you felt more genuine. That's what it is, right? Because he wasn't tiptoeing around bullshit, right? He would just say how it is. Am I wrong?
Well, I think that he felt bad.
Like Conan O'Brien. Like Conan O'Brien, he doesn't give a shit. He makes people feel weird. He makes people feel uncomfortable. That's his whole shtick. He's a tall, gangly, Irish, redheaded, like Slender Man-looking motherfucker. But he's so honest, and he's such a fantastic, like he has such a creative mind, and he's able to put people in these situations that are so goddamn entertaining. And he does not give a flying fuck about how you feel, and that's why we love him, right? That's why I watch all like Conan O'Brien online, all those clips and shit, all the time. Because
Conan and Bill Burr, that's classic, right?
Oh, yeah.
But here's the thing with Letterman is that he would offend people, but then he'd feel really bad about it. Like, so for instance, he had Cher on once, and he said to Cher, why haven't you been on my show for so long? And she's, because you're an asshole. And he, in an interview, he said that he didn't understand, that why she didn't like him. And then he'd watch some of the stuff that he'd done, and like, oh yeah, I guess I was a bit of a jerk, but it was entertaining to watch him.
Well,
like
because
that.
Celebrities, back to Canada, one of my favorite guys is Jordan Peterson, and he was saying that like, he doesn't like to do, he likes to do interviews where there's a little bit of like conflict, right? But he doesn't like to do ones where there's like right back and forth, like in your face, like oh you piece of shit, because it drains him, and it's also like uncomfortable. He says like interpersonal conflict is uncomfortable. So that's kind of the same thing, right? Like why would a celebrity want to put themselves in a compromising position if they could just do like a morning talk show, which is like the mildest. It's like those. It's like those peppers that have absolutely no spiciness in them. That's like the morning talk show.
They shouldn't even be called peppers.
Yeah,
right?
And then you have like the jalapeno, which is something like Conan O'Brien or Letterman, like something with a little bit of spice. And some guys like will like that, like yeah, let's go, let's have some fun. Comedians and maybe like rock stars that do a lot of drugs come on there high as fuck, like yeah, let's do this. But then there's people like Cher, where everybody's like, oh Cher, you're so amazing. Oh Cher, you're the greatest goddamn magician in the world. Do you think anybody insults Cher? No, because then you just won't be around Cher anymore. I bet Cher is surrounded by a whole group of people that are just yes men and women that say that she's amazing, everything she does is great, she pisses gold, she shits platinum, and then why would she ever go on a Letterman to have him rip her apart? You know what I mean? That's the way I see it.
Here's the thing. Cher doesn't really have anybody around her because they're all dead because she's like 110 years old. Right?
Well, when was this Letterman interview? Like fucking 40 years ago? Come on.
It was like in the 80s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So...
But you know what? I think that I would rather listen to that kind of thing, and probably if I was doing that kind of work.
Hell yeah, because it's entertaining.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun. I mean, look at Howard Stern, right? Obviously, Howard Stern is not like that in real life. And also, by the way, Howard Stern has turned into Jay Leno. Now he's milky toasty.
He's a bit of a sweetheart now. Yeah, like he's doing America's Got Talent sometimes, or like is that what he does?
Yeah,
I think that's what it is. And he's nice. He's really nice.
Yeah, and I think in real life he's not like he was. But his show, obviously, he pissed everybody off, and he was offensive. And I remember when I was visiting New York, and Howard Stern was having, for charity, he was doing the Howard Stern Tennis International or something like that at Nassau Coliseum on Long Island. And it was going to be topless ball girls, and the woman playing the national anthem had no arms or legs. She played the piano with her tongue, right? Now, I'm sitting in a diner hearing this, and I'm thinking to myself, that's just sick, man, but I wonder if I can get tickets, And also, by the way, I'm also hearing this commercial for, do you remember monster trucks?
Well, I know what monster trucks are.
World of wheels. Yeah,
so they used to like they would like jump buses, like
go
off ramps, crush smaller cars, that shit.
Yeah, you'll purchase the entire seat, but you only need the edge. That kind of stuff.
Yeah,
right?
okay.
So anyway, Howard Stern was doing that kind of stuff just to be offensive, but I'm sure he wasn't really like that. But it worked. It made him $1 gazillion.
Well, again, because he just didn't. He didn't care. I mean, the kind of shit he did, like you mentioned that. I mean, he would do things like he would bring on like adult actresses, You know what I mean? He would like butt naked. You know what I mean? Doing interviews. He would bring on like people, and he would just he had like the world's smallest dick competition. You know what I mean? Like this guy clearly, his whole thing is pushing the limit. I don't think there's. You think what do you think he would say no to?
I have a more important question.
So, what?
When you won that contest, did they give you like a trophy? Or?
Yeah, I got a plaque. It's in my room. So look, but seriously, like he's done shit that I don't think anybody else would do. We can say that very easily, right?
Certainly on radio.
What do you like? What's the limit? Probably like hurting somebody. Like he probably never hurt anybody physically, right? Like.
Well, the thing was when he did terrestrial radio, there was the FCC, so he'd get in all kinds of trouble. They'd fine him and they'd fire him and whatever. And then
he moved to Sirius.
Well, he went to satellite, and then the FCC doesn't govern that or regulate that, so he could get away with a lot more. I don't know. It also depends on the time. Like, forget Howard Stern now, right? Howard Stern's just milky toasty. He's just like
he's enjoying himself.
No, I get it, but as far as talking about controversy, I think that there's nothing controversial about him now. But if you took Howard Stern from like the late '80s, early '90s, and put him on the radio today, right? Would that work, or would there just be so much upheaval?
But see, that's a great. Thank you for that awesome segue, because you can't do that. There's a lot of people, a lot of very talented, very entertaining people. I would say talented is not the right is not like because entertainment doesn't really. You don't need talent to be entertaining. Let me explain. Like if I, just took a fucking like pan and just started bashing myself in the head, I'd probably get like 1 million views on Instagram, on YouTube. You know what I mean? That doesn't require any talent. But you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people that can, like Dave Chappelle, right? He recently came out with.
Well, hold on, because I knew you were going to talk about Dave Chappelle. But before you do that, isn't there a woman that just eats food online? And
there's a bunch of them. There's a one,
but there's like a really famous.
Yeah,
one.
I know. Okay, so here's what I don't even know any of their names. I just saw kind of like their clips in passing, so I don't remember any of the names of the channels. But I know about this one Asian woman, and she eats giant portions of food, like a bowl of ramen that's like the size of her whole upper body.
That's it.
You know what I mean? And she just eats it, a lot of slurping. A lot of like open.
But she's not like scantily clad or anything.
Nope. She's dressed, just very normal. It's just she eats. And oh man, does she eat?
But why would people?
Well, a lot of people tell me that it's sexual. A lot of people tell me that there's something sexual about her eating, the sounds and whatever. I don't think so. I'm more interested in the fact that it's just fascinating to see like a 5'3" Asian girl eating more than I could, and I'm like a 300-pound fat ass. You know what I mean? There's just something really like, oh my god, visceral about it. You know what I mean? Like, just and like for instance, there's another chick. It has nothing to do with eating. All she does is mush her face into bread.
That's it.
She buys different kinds of bread. She puts it in front of her, and then she just bangs her head into it.
Like bread right out of the oven?
Bread,
or
whatever. Oven, buys it from a store. She just buys different bread, and she just crushes it with her face.
Wow.
That's it.
So you know why she had to see the doctor, right?
Why is that?
She had a yeast infection. Sorry, buddy. It was right there.
It was a good setup.
So listen, I've actually... I like to watch you eat sometimes.
I know.
You may have noticed I get kind of restless in my seat, so maybe it is a thing.
I'm a very aggressive eater. I know. Sometimes people tell me that it's like watching the Discovery Channel.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm cool with that. I enjoy eating. It's just part of me. I don't care. I mean, I don't like to be an animal when I'm in public. Like if I'm at home, oh my god, this shit you can't. It's like the Discovery Channel. Then there's like the adult, that's the stuff you see on the adult channel that they can't show on cable. You know what I mean? When I'm in public, that's the Discovery Channel. That's the shit you can't show on cable. So
let me ask you a question. If you were, and I don't know what the odds of this are happening, but if you were on a date, an actual date, right, and you're actually in a restaurant, like.
Here's okay.
How would you tone it down?
No, I would tone it down, but I wouldn't. I would because it's like fuck. I want to enjoy my food. I'm not gonna be like taking a little fucking portion of a steak, like a little sliver, and like licking it first and smelling it and then chewing on it a little bit and then no. I'm gonna take a big giant piece of steak and chew on it like so what do you do?
Buddy, I gotta tell you that both of those things you said they're the same thing.
Anyway, what I'm saying is I would just be myself. Like I wouldn't be an animal. Like honestly, when I do like eat like a fucking asshole, it's because I just don't care, right? Obviously, if I'm on a date, I'm trying to be presentable and impress. So there's obviously going to be a difference. But I would still enjoy my food. I wouldn't be like the most proper man on earth. You know what I mean? Not even close. But I would definitely not, like, you know, eat half of a hero in like 3 bites.
I got to tell you, I was on a date once, and I guess I was like...
Remember, your wife is listening.
Huh?
So your wife is listening, so be careful.
No, I sent her out.
I sent her the link, bro. I sent her
You
the
sent her
link.
the
I
link?
sent her the link.
Ah, damn. Okay, so this buddy of mine was on a date.
Okay.
So I was on a date once. I was like 40, and actually it doesn't matter. But so on a date, and it was a woman who I'd say is like classically attractive. You know what I mean?
But like minimal makeup. Is that what you mean?
No. I mean like Beyonce or something would be classically attractive. You know, just naturally beautiful.
Okay, I see.
That kind of thing.
I see. Okay.
And we were having dinner, and she was eating. We just started eating the steak, and like 2 minutes in, she takes her fingers and she starts grinding her teeth as if they were a toothpick.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to tell you that for the rest of the meal, right, every time I'd look at her, and she might just be talking to me and just saying something
She
to
looked
me,
ugly.
and all I would see was
Well, so here's the thing. This is where we differ greatly.
why?
Because I love it. I love that shit. Chicks that fart, chicks that like pick their teeth with their fingers, because they don't care. They don't care. No.
No.
Could you? No. Listen, these women, a lot of women nowadays are just they're so worried about their self-image that it literally controls almost their whole lives. Like almost a majority of the things that they do is just about, you know, how I look, shopping and makeup, like going to the bathroom every time to fix up your, you know what I mean? I want to, like, wearing high heels so you're walking around like a fucking
Well, that
newborn
seems
giraffe.
like a dumb idea.
No, but what I want is a chick that wears like sandals and fucking, you know,
Like,
like.
you don't want picking food out of their teeth.
Yeah, why? You know why? Because I fucking pick food out of my teeth. I don't give a shit.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So do you. I've seen you do it. Stop being a fucking.
Not in front of you. Maybe on a camera you've been watching me on or something.
Bullshit. Come on. Listen, it's just because chicks that are free to like do what they want, they're honest. You know what I mean? The chick was comfortable enough to pick her teeth in front of you. That means that, you know, there's no filters. It's a certain.
No,
honest...
she just had bad manners.
All
She
I'm
wasn't clued in,
yeah.
right?
But manners is bullshit, right? Because manners is just like. Is just like what society deems we need to act like. It's a fucking something that a sheep loves, you know, because it's order. It's like, we have to eat like this, and we have to do this, and don't do that. No, you know, there's people that just don't care about any of that, and I find that so fucking wildly attractive. You know, I'm not saying I want a fucking pig that, like, you know, covered in dirt, like, yes, me. You know, no, that's not what I want. I'm just talking about a girl that.
You mean not an actual pig? You mean like a?
No, I mean, there's
like,
a difference between somebody that just does not give a shit about themselves at all, and there's somebody that doesn't give a shit about what people think of them. There's a difference between that. You know what I'm saying?
But you're on a first date. Think about this: if you're on a first date, and someone's picking their teeth, right, and that's your first date.
Yeah.
What would it be like 6 months from
But
then?
you see, you think that's nasty. But I think that if that's the first date and the girl is picking her teeth, that means the girl is honest. That means that she doesn't care to give you some fake bullshit, right? Because you know what's way worse than that? Having a perfect girl on the first date and then figuring out 6 months down the line that she's absolutely insane, disgusting. You know what I mean? Like, what's worse? I think being honest from the beginning is the best, and I find that attractive.
Well,
Just
you know
saying.
what? I'll tell you what. Here's the thing. When I first started online dating, and I remember having a conversation with my ex-girlfriend, and we were trying to help each other with each other's bio, and she said to me, her advice to me was, don't be yourself on the first few dates, right? And I said, but I don't understand. Why would you say that? And she says, well, because people that don't know you.
And who was that? Your ex.
Ex.
Right, yeah,
Ex.
wow. So surprised that that's your ex
Ex.
telling you to lie. Well, it's weird, right?
But she was like, if you're yourself and people don't know you, they might think you're weird. And you know what? Now, I don't agree with the specific thing you said, but I agree with the concept and that I think you should actually be more yourself.
See, here's the thing. You're new, this, it just hit you. I told you about it. It just hit you. You just realized what I said. I've been living this way for 20 years. Wait until you actually, well, not 20, whatever, 10 years since I've been liking girls. So if you think about that philosophy well, you're married, so it doesn't matter to you now. But I'm saying, like, if you were to think about that way for a while, you'd realize how unimportant all that dumb shit that you think is important, it really is not important. And what's more important is honesty.
Wanda, I apologize for what Artie just said.
No.
But Artie, listen to me. If here's the thing, and you know I love you like a brother.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, is that a lot of times you will say things that when I first hear them, I go,
Yeah.
what the hell is he talking about? That's crazy. And then sometimes when you explain them, and I think you're right about the dating thing, is I think it would be better if more people were
Yeah, of course.
more themselves. But I still don't want to stare at somebody picking their teeth even.
No, sure, because you don't find that attractive. And honestly, I don't find that attractive either, but I find the honesty attractive. I would be like, look, okay, so let me put it to you this way. Let's say a hot chick walks by, right, and she just lets out a fat, big fart, right? Most guys would probably be like, ew, what the fuck is this chick's I would be like, damn, that's my next wife. You know what I mean? Because she doesn't give a shit. You know what I mean? She just lets it rip. She just doesn't care. And that's what I find attractive, when you just don't give a fuck about what people think about you. I seriously, honestly, there's a couple of women I've met that are like this. It's just so few.
And you know what happened if I saw that happen?
What?
I'd be like Ivanka. What are you doing? What are you doing in this part of town?
But you know what I mean, right? Does it make sense? Like I'm attracted to honesty. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Oh, fair enough.
It's like, I guess maybe it's because I myself am kind of a pig, so maybe pigs are attracted to pigs. I don't know. That's biology or whatever, but it's just the way it is.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing doesn't appeal to me, but the concept of what you're saying.
Well, it's an opinion. It's an opinion, right? Obviously, everybody like there's some guys that like really really classy women that wear like black dresses and weird.
Oh, I love women like that. I love one woman in particular like that.
No, but it's some people like different things. Personally, that's what I like. I mean, but I just because it's like you see all these like like for instance the Manhattan women like all dressed in like all their wonderful clothing walking around, obviously very beautiful professionals usually working somewhere, and you look at them, but you can kind of tell like they're wearing heels, and you kind of think to yourself like, well, she's walking around in them heels and she's kind of like, she looks like a newborn giraffe, and like her ass is sticking out, and that's kind of attractive, but also like she literally decided to wear these uncomfortable ass shoes for the whole day just so her ass could stick out, and that's to me that's the kind of the process it goes through. And I'm kind of like, I don't really find that too attractive.
That's a whole other show, and
women will tell me like, oh, but I love heels, and it's so comfortable in heels. And then at the end of the day, it's like, oh my god, I can't wear this shit anymore. Why do I wear these shoes? And I'm like, oh well, I thought you said you were fucking comfortable. What the fuck happened? And that's so like I can't stand heels. Like if I ever see a chick who's wearing like sneakers, I'm like, that's hot.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the New York thing, right? Is that you wear your sneakers and then put your heels on when you're at work.
Yeah, sure, whatever, but that doesn't matter.
But anyway, I interrupted. So Dave Chappelle.
Oh, what about it? I mean, I don't even.
We were talking about political correctness.
That was literally like 30 minutes ago. You think we should? Okay, I mean, what are we gonna? We gonna go from that to political correctness? I mean, I guess they're somehow connected, right?
No, you were talking about Dave Chappelle and Howard Stern and how Dave.
Well, yeah. So
it's the wrong time for Dave Chappelle to do that special, but it's the right time.
No.
Right?
No,
it's not right.
No. You misunderstood me. Did not say that. It's the perfect time for doing the special. I agree with you 100%. It's the wrong time to do a new Chappelle show. Right? Because Chappelle's show, I'm guessing you've seen it. I'm guessing everybody's seen it. It doesn't matter if you're black, white. Everybody's fucking seen Chappelle's show, except maybe my parents who don't know how to work a TV. But it's like I think it's a great like it does kind of define the early 2000s in a way, because people were kind of like just everything. Nothing was off limits. You know what I mean? Twitter was kind of new, so you couldn't really fucking ruin people's careers. Do you know who just got fired?
Who?
God damn it, give me my phone. This guy, Sean, the guy from SNL, right? He was on a podcast.
Oh, yeah.
He was on a fucking podcast. Dude, this pissed me off.
No, but didn't he say a racist joke or something?
Dude, he made an Asian joke on a podcast.
Right. Years ago, probably, right?
And he got fired for that. I just don't. It's so frustrating.
But doesn't
man.
Chappelle talk about that in his show?
No, this happened today.
No, but I mean, he talks about the cancel
culture. Right? Yes, exactly, and it is quite ridiculous. Like I think probably my most the thing that aggravates me the most, and even though it was resolved, you can't say that it didn't happen, was the James Gunn debacle. You know about that?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I mean, James Gunn, who's, arguably everybody would kind of say that he's a nice guy. There's some people that have beef with him, but that's because he's also a bit of like a brutish, honest kind of guy. So the sensitive types aren't attracted to his type of humor and the way he speaks. But, there's people that are more open-minded that love him. I am one of them. A lot of people love him, especially, after he became, like, much more popular in the mainstream after Guardians of the Galaxy. You know what I mean? That's when people started doing the fucking digging. You know what I mean? And then they found some shit he said about, like, I don't remember, it was whatever, homosexual. He offended somebody. And they were going to...
Years ago, obviously.
Yeah. And they took him off Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. And then Dave Bautista argued about it. And then That's the guy that plays Drax. And then a bunch of the other co-stars, they gave look. So Drax, the guy Dave Bautista, mad respect to him. He was like in their face. He was like, "Fuck you, Disney! Like you're a piece of shit for doing this. Like this is a great guy, great director. He's always super nice to everybody on set. I've never seen him just he wrote a whole fucking letter just shitting on Disney, saying I'm not going to play Drax anymore if you don't bring him back. Pretty much that's what it is summarized. And then everybody else on the show kind of. In the movie, gave like a group statement, but it was kind of like, yeah, we support James Gunn, but it wasn't like as vicious as Dave Bautista's.
Right, it wasn't like give him his job back.
And they gave him the job back eventually. But do you know why they did that? Because there was this guy PewDiePie, and he was like a part of Disney. And what happened is they had a show called something about like Disney cut their contract with him, right, because of shit he said. So they felt like they had to keep this ball rolling. Like they couldn't take away all of PewDiePie's bullshit, right? And then not take away James Gunn's bullshit because it would be like they're hypocrites.
Right.
Like why do they attack PewDiePie and then James Gunn they're letting him walk? And it fucking sucks because it started right in the beginning, like this cancel culture must have started somewhere. I can't really put my finger on it, but then it started this precedent. You know what I mean? Like, hey, well, I mean, if we fucking got rid of this guy, why don't we get rid of this guy? We get rid of this guy and this guy. And it's interesting, but you know what's going to happen at the end of the day is we're just going to have like a Hollywood that's just full of one type of person. You want that? Is that really what you want? Do you want guys that never push the envelope? Do you want guys, do you want every single stand-up to be PC? Do you want every single movie to be about, some sort of topic, like, to have some sort of agenda? Is that always, is this the kind of future that we want?
Well, we're already headed there. Look at
that's what I'm saying.
Disney owns everything now, and all we're going to see are superhero movies. But,
I'm okay with that.
But think of like Pulp Fiction. Could you make Pulp Fiction today? Could you have George Carlin today? And those are these are groundbreaking people, and yeah, you got to let them get away with a little bit. But what happens is whenever there's too much political correctness, somebody comes along or something comes along and just does a big middle finger, and that's what Chappelle's doing.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh man, it was vicious.
Yeah, remember Andrew Dice Clay?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't.
Right.
I cannot say that I was a big fan of him, just because
he's from your area.
Yeah,
actually.
he's very boorish. You know what I mean? He's very like he's it's almost like he's a smart guy, but his act almost makes me think of him as like a simpleton because he's always like, "Hey, bitty boop bop, beep boop, hey, show me your titties," like what the fuck, like that's none.
But the thing is that he came along when there was a wave of political correctness, and
yeah.
then he just was super popular, sold out Madison Square Gardens 2 or 3 nights in a row, and then you're right though, because he was kind of one dimensional. As fast as he came up, he fell off, right?
Yeah.
But that's what's hopefully happening now is that you're going to see, celebrities and movies and whatever come out that kind of counter this crazy stuff. Where, can you imagine if like you were all of a sudden you became big as a comedian or an actor, and then you're panicking because you're looking over your the social that you did for like the last 10 years and like reading every one,
like,
to,
Like, look, 9/11. I made a 9/11 joke on my Instagram. It got mixed reviews. I lost like 20 followers. Who gives a shit? But some people thought it was funny. Like I've had firefighters and I've had veterans. I asked them like, "What do you think? What did you think? Did you think this was out of taste?" They said it's fine.
Well, they have a macabre
and
sense of humor,
then
right?
I had some other people message me like, "I don't think this is funny," or "This is in really bad taste." And I'm like, "Listen, when if we make jokes about other shit too. Like how long? When's the cutoff point? You know what I mean? Like we have an Independence, like not an Independence Day sale. Yeah, like okay, for instance, let's say Independence Day sale or like.
What do you mean, like a 9/11? Come on.
Yeah. Oh man, 20 years. Watch.
No.
Watch. Come on in 9/11. We're gonna have the 50% off all towers.
No.
Yeah, bullshit. I'm telling you. Watch this. What are you talking about, dude?
Buddy,
this is a capitalist country.
Ever since you won that contest, right?
What contest?
The world's smallest penis.
Yeah, this is a capitalist.
It's really turned you into
dude. But people will take any opportunity to pretty much make a buck or advertise or something. You know what I mean? I'm telling you, it's a matter of time. Once people are desensitized to it, like let's say the people that were born after 9/11, you know what I mean? They have absolutely like I was in Brooklyn when this happened. I had charred pieces of paper flying around me, ash fucking like snow. You know what I mean? Even though I wasn't in Manhattan, I wasn't there. But my mom didn't come home for 3 days because all the bridges were closed down. Like I remember this very vividly. All the teachers crying in the school.
Yeah, but think of this. Say you became like a famous radio guy.
Sure.
right? And then all of a sudden, the corporation gets a letter, and then they pull out your little thing that you did on Instagram with the cigars and 9/11, right? You know what I mean? And I'm not saying you deserve to get fired.
I would tell them to go fuck themselves, every single one of them.
All I'm saying is that the world we live in now is you would get fired, and I wonder if the pendulum has obviously swung too far the other way. So good for Dave Chappelle.
What I'll tell you is that real quick, we're about to round this up, but what I want to end is like, if it did happen to me, let's say, right? What I would do is I would try to like martyr myself for the cause, and then hopefully that'll get me back on. Like, hopefully people will be like, okay, this guy, I respect what he did, and he took a arrow to the knee or whatever.
Right.
You know what I mean? And then maybe I would, at least the people that are with me are going to be with me. You know what I mean? But the most important thing is to stand your ground. And on that note, we're going to round up this episode of Artie's Cigar Hour. We talked about cigars absolutely zero today.
Oh, that's right.
But we will be having a nice fat cigar after this, that's for sure.
Do you want to know what the weather is going to be like tonight?
In a minute. Hold on. Yeah. All right. So real quick, I do want to tell you guys, you can check me out at AshHole NYC. That's ASHHOLE NYC. Okay, that's my main Instagram page, and also check out the YouTube page where I'm throwing up all my reviews right now. A lot of great content there. You wanna shout out your thing, huh? You can have a couple interesting pictures there.
Clouds and sunshine with the highs of 75.
You could find Rob at Laundry Bob. If you're a cool guy, he might accept you. Who knows? Also, I want to thank Jade, our fantastic engineer, for helping us out today. And on that note, good night, ladies and gentlemen.
I love cigars. Blah, blah, blah.